Well, it feels pretty good right now, but we haven't played a show yet. So let's wait until we get out there and start playing. I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling kind of blessed that I'm in this position. I'm hoping I'm not going to blow it.
Oh, we're totally booked.
Rock and roll!
Well, I think I'll leave you to your reading.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Rock and roller!
We are totally booked.
Welcome back to Booked on Rock, the podcast for those about to read and rock. I'm Rik Senich. Hey, before we jump in, if you want to hear these episodes commercial free, you can grab the Backstage Pass on Patreon for just $5 a month. Links in the show notes. You can also go to bookedonrock.com. Now, our guest, Rik Emmett, is back on the podcast. I believe this is the third time he's been on the show, and he's got a brand new book out, his second collection of poetry titled Leaning Into It Poems. It's due out April 7th. He's also preparing for Triumph's 50th anniversary reunion tour, the band's first in over 30 years. Rik, you are a very busy guy, so thank you for taking some time out to talk tonight.
You're welcome. Third time, eh? Wow. Have they always been set up through ECW Press and for the books, or sometimes
for the books? It was ECW for the books.
Yeah, right on. Okay, well, they're good people, and they're doing me a tremendous favor because, I mean, really, who buys poetry books?
You are now a prolific author. You have put out 3 or 4 books now.
It's true. And, you know, we sit here talking, and in this very laptop, there's yet another book of poetry that's kind of ready for an editor to look at it. But, you know, the thing with and ECW Press, I love them, and my editor, Michael Holmes, great guy. And it's really great to be able to work with a guy that has that much experience as a poet, as an editor, blah, blah, blah. But the truth of the matter is, you kind of have to go to them and say, yeah, but, how about if I give you a memoir in a poetry book? Or, then we put out 10 Telecaster Tales, and it was like that had a record in it, and it was all about songs. It was like, sort of an overblown liner notes thing. So then the second poetry book that's coming out now, I wrote it back during COVID, so there's this thing too about poetry where you write it. I mean, I write almost every day. There's certain things where I'm, journaling or putting things in notebooks or, whatever, typing things. And so there's another one sitting in the computer waiting to go, but it might be a year or two before it finds its way to the public. Who knows? And now, of course, I've detoured off into touring land, which eats up so much of your time and energy. I forgot how much of a time chewer thing it is,
Yeah, and from what I hear, ticket sales are doing really well. 2 shows in Boston.
I know. It's one of those things where, you can't help but look at that and think, well, then is this just the first leg of something that's going to eat up the next, 3 years of my life kind of thing? And you go, it could. Now, I'm still in the early stages of that. So, in a way, I'm kind of still digging it. It's fun to be kind of hooking up with these new guys and working with them. And, Gil and I are finding new energy again in the studio. And there's so much of it is kind of new and fresh again. So that's kind of cool. But, now the poetry book's kind of getting bumped to the back of the bus, and you go, oh, that's not very fair. And Gil comes to me today at the studio. He says, I was doing an interview, and I was pumping your book. I go, well, that's great. Thanks. But I'm pretty sure it's getting lost in the shuffle, but fine. That's great.
It's perfect timing though. You put the book out while you're in the media a lot. You're getting a lot of coverage. So it's
sure. Yeah, no, I'm not complaining. And it's weird to have this thing happen where, you retire. This year I'll turn 73, and I'm looking at my life and I'm going, wait, I feel like I'm busier now than I've been in the last couple of decades. What's exactly going on here?
Seriously. And then you mentioned something about in the studio. I mean, I don't want to make you say anything you can't promise, but maybe new music.
Well, maybe that's down the road. No, I'm talking like right now in the studio, there has to be this stage where what you've written is script, and consulted with the guys in the band and Gil and the lighting designer and the sound man. And now the script has to get turned into certain things where you have pre-record stuff that has to get you. Like today, I was doing stuff where I was literally like an actor doing voiceover stuff through a harmonizer, so that this character that we've created for the screens, that's kind of like an MC character guy. We used to have a thing in the old days on the tour, where in the early days of Lasers, we had a thing, we called him Laserface. He was like a guy that kind of went, "Are you ready for the greatest show triumph?" You know, it was like blah, blah, this character. So he's going to get upgraded to 2026.
Oh, wow.
You know, the whole Reloaded thing. But now he's going to sort of be like I don't know, Star Trek spaceman, the Mandalorian, like, he's going to be a character. And I haven't even seen him in his final stages yet, but I've got to do his voice before. So it's all, there's these levels of things that technology, whatever.
It's exciting.
But
you're going to be on the road more now than you have in a long time. How does that feel?
Yes. And there's conversations about that. Are we flying? Are we going in the bus? What's the bus going to be like? And of course, back in the old days, we didn't really do bus. We flew everywhere, and we flew first class, and we treated ourselves well because there were only 3 of us. It was relatively, now there's at least 5 or could be 6, but I think at least 5 of us. So it's like, oh, a little bit different now, anyways. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we'll get into a little more about that. But let's talk about leaning into it, which the title suggests engagement rather than retreat. What does leaning into it mean to you personally?
Well, we have to define it. And of course, it was during COVID times, but it was also, the reign of Trump. And so all of this stuff the first time around. And then, it seems appropriate, ironically, that, now it's even more. It's even more of an it than ever, leaning into it. I might have left out a couple of letters there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the world is headed in a good direction, and I didn't feel it back then, and it's even worse now, So there is that. And what else is it? The stiff wind blowing in off of the ocean is this thing that's growing old, that's part of it, aging. I think part of it is trying to deal with a world where, let's blame digital technology a little bit. Let's blame, the devices we all hold in our hands. There's just a lot of stuff going on that it takes me away from the world where I felt all of the things in my life that were important to me, intellectual pursuits, academic rigor, practicing an instrument until you could become incredibly articulate on it. All of that stuff seems to be getting hammered, and so that's what I'm leaning into. The fact that I don't like the dumbing down of the world. I mean, it's not like people haven't complained about this stuff before. And I mentioned this in some of the poetry, the world that Paddy Chayefsky saw in the Network movie in 1976. All of a sudden it's real life. It's really happening. And you're going, my God, so, I'm not sure which poetry book I wrote it in, but I talk about George Carlin and I talk about Bertrand Russell and the kinds of minds that I admire and that I feel a kinship towards. And, they couldn't get elected nowadays. They might be a talk show host who's getting kicked off of television. Like there's stuff going on where you go, that can't be true. Is that true? Is that what's happening? Is that what's really happening? And it is. And you go, oh my God, when are they going to start that war in Iran? It's going to happen any second.
Oh, I know. I was just listening to all that talk this afternoon. Well, I saw a video last night Sammy Hagar put up. His upcoming tour, he's adding a song called Crack in the World from 51 years ago. And in the lyrics, he's saying 50 years from now, the world is going to be split in half and it's going to be it's just going to be a mess.
And it's a weird thing. I mean, I've got poems in in this computer now where I'm talking about the fact that we live in this time where the pursuits of intellectual understanding and compassion, all of these kinds of things, it's like nothing like that counts anymore. So I find it very disheartening, but the bottom line is you have to fight fire with fire. At a certain point, I was out to dinner with a friend the other night, and he was talking about, Democrats that are running ads where they're swearing and where they're, they're using 4-letter words, and, Gavin Newsom is this kind of blah, blah, blah guy. And I'm going, look, at a certain point, they didn't set this tone. They didn't make the world into what it is. Now they're going to have to try to reclaim it. How do you do that? At a certain point, if you're, I don't know, if you're going to take on the Wehrmacht, you have to have an allied force, and you have to go to war. And so it's too bad. Poets are people that are, in the words of, say, Kurt Vonnegut, he would say, well, you got to be like a canary down a coal mine. Your job is to, so Sammy's not wrong. He's close to the idea of, every now and then you got to bark. You got to warn people, you got to be somebody that is not afraid to sort of, see the colors and say, this is what I see. If there's an emperor there, he's got no clothes. You have to, I'm not going a lot further back than Kurt Vonnegut. I'm going to Hans Christian Andersen, but you get it.
Do these times result in some of the best art? Because I just listened to U2's new music. They put out an EP, and it's some of the best stuff they've put out in a long time. And it's during turbulent times, maybe we get the best art or the most passionate.
You know what? That's very insightful, and that may be true. Certainly when you feel the knife at your throat, it changes the way that you see the world. It changes what you see as important. When you're on your deathbed with a chronic, cancerous disease, it changes the way you see things, so yeah, maybe that's true. I mean, I think I've made some good music and written some good poetry when I'm, and I give myself maybe a little more latitude than I deserve, but let's call lyric writing in certain ways poetic, and I think when I wrote songs like Fight the Good Fight and Hold On to Your Dreams and The Magic Power of Music and stuff, there's a thing there where I'm trying to be optimistic and positive as an artist, because in truth, I don't necessarily see the world that way. I see the world in a very, cynical kind of way, well, certainly in a Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius kind of way. And I go, okay, but what's my job? I think my job is to try and offer people something, positive, something of value. Yeah, there's an awful lot of folks right now that are raping and pillaging the world. And so, I don't see them offering value. They try to make it look like it's value, but I'm not sure that it is.
Yeah, there is so much positivity in Triumph's music in your lyrics.
Yeah, and so I do think there was a certain level of a poetic kind of approach to making rock music. I mean, in the documentary for the band, they talk about, somebody says something about, well, they were dressed in white at the US Festival, and they were the good guys in an era of scumbags. And I do think that we did see ourselves as a kind of a band. And now here we are, it's 50 years later, and there's this appetite for the band again, So I think at the same time that some folks are leaning into it, there are other folks that are hungry for what you get by leaning into it, like what comes from it, So this goes back to your point about you two, finding themselves and maybe coming up with, really strong stuff. It's like, well, I need an antidote.
The book is divided into 5 parts and includes auto-fictional elements. Talk about that and how much of the narrator is truly Rik Emmett, how much is a crafted persona?
I would say a lot of them is me. I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried writing, like as a, I don't know, prose, poetry, whatever. When I write, I
have attempted it. I'll just say that.
Okay, yeah, and I think everybody probably did some in school, and then some people when you become an adult, you go, no, I think I want to take a crack at it, and it's not easy. It's hard work, and I get sick of me, and so then I start going to the collective we, and then I go, oh, that's, now I'm sounding like a preacher, and so then I eventually sort of get to the point where I'm going, well, I need to tell a story about a third party. I'll create this alter ego guy. And his name, Alvaro Follis, like Alvaro is a name that sort of means guardian, like somebody that's this all stuff that I talked about, canary down a coal mine or that sort of thing. And I think a poet has that responsibility. So I go, okay. And then I'm thinking, court jester. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I like that he's the fool, that he plays the fool. And you're looking and talking to a guy here that, wore spandex pants and jumped around with a flying V. I'm going to do it again, by God.
Nice.
So there's a kind of a court jester thing in what my life has been like, in a way. And I don't mind that. I don't mind that one tiny little bit. I have a deep respect for Alex Lifeson in Rush. And, man, in interviews lately, he's just having so much fun. He is definitely a court jester kind of guy, and I go, I admire it. I really like it, it's what I sort of want to do too, like sometimes you're going to be serious. Sometimes you're going to have that Marat and you're going to be telling a story about the way the king farts too much, or, you're going to be making satire about what's happening in society. But of course, then you can always go, hey, just an artist here, just a poet, you don't have to put me in jail or anything,
Yeah. Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee bringing Rush back. And I always wonder about those situations where you lose a member of the band and it's something that you love to do. It's who you are. And you're being asked to just, I guess, stop doing it altogether. I mean, I know they've done projects on the side, but Rush is their baby. That's
you look back at the course of the history of rock bands, and Zeppelin would be the one where you go, when Bonham died and they went, yeah, then that's the end of Zeppelin. But then eventually the life goes on and certain things happen, and the tide of times and the pressures that come around, it's like you go, okay, well, maybe we could realize it in a different way. And I mean, in Triumph now, we're going through this thing where, Mike Levine, his health is not good. He's been struggling with things. And I'm not sure that he's going to make it out to rehearsals. I'm not sure he's going to make it out on tour. Certainly, he might show up on a couple of shows, but, but this thing is kind of rolling without him. And I'm going to sort of try to move to the bottom of that. It wasn't even a question. I'm just pontificating here. But I think that the thing that drew Gil and I back into this at this point, Mike too, but Mike has kind of been, out of the picture a little bit. The thing that drew it was the songs. It was these things that we created, and then they've got this kind of life where there's Stanley Cup playoffs, and they're playing them on TV, and then kids are putting up their Shazam and going, what band is this? What song is this? And all of a sudden you've got a song that's back on the charts, in terms of streaming and downloads, and you're going, okay, I don't know this world, but apparently this world is embracing the songs again. And then you go, oh, well, maybe the songs deserve, I deserve to do something for the songs because they're doing something for me, and maybe I should do that. And, maybe it doesn't really matter that one guy won't be there. Maybe it doesn't really matter that we're going to have new guys in playing. Maybe it doesn't matter. All of those kinds of things that cynical, sarcastic people might say, because as long as we do a good job on the songs, and the songs really get up on stage and they work from there, they talk from there, they do what they're supposed to do. I don't know. It's like when you write a book of poetry and you go, I don't know how much value it will have, but I can't predict this. But maybe 40 years, 100 years after I'm dead, somebody's going to read that poem and go, hey, you know what? Sammy Hagar's going to write a song, and 40 or 50 years later, he's going to go, hey, you know what? I think I was staring into a crystal ball there. Anyhow.
Yeah, the songs that you create outlive you, and they live on. But then, now with the social media, these songs are reintroduced to a whole new generation through, like, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors is a huge seller among young people because of its exposure on TikTok. It goes viral. Those are things you can't even plan for.
No. And the thing that's lovely is that there's a quality to those songs that it doesn't corrode. It actually sort of takes on a strength. It shines even better because it's like, no, you know what? This song's 50 years old and it's really still good. And you
Absolutely.
go, well, that's a nice thing to contemplate. Like, look, I've always appreciated classical music. I've always appreciated jazz. So I've always had that sense of, there's something amazing in, Debussy, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven. These things, you can listen to them and you can go, no, that's forever. That's so good that that's a forever kind of a thing. So when you write, poetry, songs, you're kind of hoping to get some of that in there. Do I think that I'm making art? I'm not sure that I would go that far. I would hope there's some art in what I do, I'm mostly a commercial pop kind of artist, but hey, if I had some of the value that Fleetwood Mac puts into stuff, I would be happy. If I had some of the value that Rush puts into stuff, I would be very happy. The bands that I listened to when I was a kid, the poets that I read, like, if I could even get a small degree of Leonard Cohen's insight into some of the things that I write, I would feel like I had a good day. That was a good day.
Sure. Well, you spent years communicating through the guitar and songwriting. What does poetry allow you to express that music may not?
Yeah, it doesn't have the same kind of boundaries, because it has moments where it can just, take a can opener and just open up your head, and it doesn't have the same sort of rules of meter and rhyme schemes. And that's not to say that I haven't. Lately, I've been writing poetry where I've been writing sonnets, and I've been writing villanelles. I've been writing stuff the form is like, I've been writing haikus and limericks, because you go, no, this is form. And I spent so much of my life working in song forms, strophic, structured A, B kind of stuff. And you go, well, okay. Why wouldn't I apply that more in my poetry? But in the two books that have, come to press so far, it was more like I was going, no, I have free verse, and I'm going to open it up a little bit. And I'm going to, if I'm going to have a run online I think that my songwriting past made it so that I do have a pretty strong sense of, this is where I need a line break. This is where I need a verse break. This is where I need to leave more space. Well, the thing about poetry that I love a little bit more than lyric, when you're writing the lyric, sometimes you want to use a word. It's the right word. It's a great word, but it's just too literal. It's too literate, and songs need words that sing. Songs need words that the vowels and the consonants are in the right place. Sometimes with poetry, you can just spit out consonants like a machine gun, and that's the whole idea of it. You can make the words, they function like like all the music. It's just the words that are providing all of this stuff. And when you write songs, you got melody in there, you got harmony that's creating, harmonic phrasing, like,
less restriction
I
then.
used to teach songwriting, so I'm full of all this stuff.
Right. But less restriction than with poetry, in that sense, that you can go down some different roads and avenues that you can't musically with a song.
Yeah, plus songs, songs, generally speaking, what do you got? You got love songs, you got protest songs, you got, there's not, and it's not, I used to try to write songs in Triumph, like the song Never Surrender, which we're going to be doing live. And, I've been working on it and revisiting it and thinking about those lyrics. I go, yeah, this isn't a love song. This is kind of a singer getting up on stage and barking and complaining about apathetic people in the crowd that won't take responsibility for themselves, And I go, okay, well, I was kind of walking out on a branch and sawing behind me a little bit, but poems, you can do that. That's par for the course. Go ahead, take gigantic chances about your content. Songs, you're trying to sort of, sell some records and sell some concert tickets. And poetry books, I go, well, if I don't sell any, wouldn't be much different than all the rest of the poets I've ever met in my life.
Well, it's show business. And that's one of the poems I want to ask you about. It's titled Show Business. And one of the stanzas reads, "The Marat says you know why you did it. You fell in love with the danger of making a spectacle of yourself. The show is a life of show biz, and the show must go on in this business of show. And the showdown will always be to show up and show off." And it feels like you're really pulling back the curtain on what it means to be a performer in this poem. The ego, the fear, the rush, the addiction to the stage. Again, how much of this is about you?
All of it.
Yeah.
Well, and not just me, but, other people that I've observed in show business, the whole class clown thing, the David Lee Roths of the world, and I don't know, name 10 frontmen. And of the 10 frontmen that you've named, do they not all fit what I just described in that thing?
Yes.
Because if you are drawn to that, and then you get there and you taste that, then that thing is kind of like, oh, this could be addictive. This is something that, and the thing too is, once you've had the taste and you learn how to, and that you enjoy it, then you're going to keep pursuing it so that you get good at it. It teaches you to be good at it, so there's all of that too. And let's imagine, think of another metaphor. Let's think about Tom Brady. He's coming up through the Patriots thing, and he's at a certain point in time, he hasn't won a whole bunch of Super Bowls, but he's doing this job. And he's looking at himself in the mirror, and he's talking to a head coach and, whatever, his offensive coordinator. And they're going, "Tom, you are the man. You can make this happen. You can do it." And he's looking in the mirror and he goes, "Yes, I think I can." And then he does. And then he's the man. And he does it season in, season out. He's the guy, and he goes, "I do it because I can. I do it because I want to." And you can't do it unless you want to. You really want to have to, because it's really hard work. It's not easy, and the job that I did of playing guitar and singing, and there's been some funny things that have happened, like Roundhill made the tribute album, and when the producer Mike Klink was going around and trying to find guys to sing Triumph songs, they're going, "I'm not singing that Emmett stuff. It's nuts. It's like he's a chipmunk on helium."
Yes.
I'm not going there. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to embarrass myself. I can't cut that. It's not me. I can't do that. But I did what I could do at the time, and I can't do it anymore. And this is a very interesting dynamic. So I'm going to tie two things together here. So I'm rehearsing and I'm going, no, I can't do it in that key. The key's got to come down to here. And I'm not going to sing that last verse. I'm going to have to get Todd Kearns to sing it. A younger guy's going to have to sing it because I can't hit those notes anymore. I still want to do the song and I want to do justice to the song, but we're going to have to figure out what justice is. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to leaning into it. So I want you to imagine at 72 years of age, when you're facing your own limitations, you can't even do your own stuff anymore. I can't do it. And you go, yeah, but I want to do justice to it. And then I look in the mirror and I go, okay, well, you fucking lean into it.
Lean into it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like,
oh, yeah.
The whole thing of being young and full of testosterone and being able to do those very ambitious kinds of class clown kinds of things. Now you're old and the rule book is different. And then you go, okay, well, I had the ambition to do it once. Can I find the ambition to do it again in a different way? And I'm enjoying the challenge of it. It's fun.
Also, but the fearlessness of you in your younger days is still there now. You have to be fearless because you have to take that risk and say, you know, I'm open to criticism here.
Yeah, you know what I would love to is if we could go back and then replay your little clip where you read my words, which, by the way, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. It's really nice to hear other people reciting my poetry. But, you know, are you saying that there's no fear in that? I think there's fear. I think I'm only human and I have fear. I have limitations.
Yeah, it's facing your fears. Yeah, I guess more facing your fears.
That's right. And going, okay, so that's part of the thing. Am I going to let fear own me or am I going to go, no, fear, I mentioned Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism and that sort of thinking of you go, look, you know, Trump and his cronies, they're ruining the world, but am I going to let that ruin my life? I'm not. I'm going to try to find a way to rise above it and get past it. And sometimes you can't get over it. You have to go through it. And so in order to go through it, you have to say, well, then put fear in your back pocket and don't work from your fear. Just try to work without emotion so that you can, you know, just move forward and get the thing done, you know. Don't I quote something in the poetry book where it's like, I quote from the Tom Hanks movie Castaway, where he's the character that has survived and he you know, he's made it back and he's going, I think all you got to do is put one foot in front of the other and you just got to wait and see what the tide brings in, you know? And I thought that was such a meaningful thing to me of this is how you do it. You don't do it by thinking about 50 steps. You only think about the next one and then the next one and then the next one. If you start thinking about 50 steps, if you start thinking about your fear, you're never going to take the step.
Because tomorrow the sun will rise. Who knows what the tide will bring?
Yes, there you go. What's that poem called?
Mind the Gap, Free Will.
Is that from Mind the Gap?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Really? The quote's at the top of Mind the Gap?
Oh, wait a minute. The Good Fight. Sorry, The Good Fight.
Yeah. No, that's The Good Fight. Yeah. No, Mind the Gap is slightly different. No, yeah, Good Fight. See, here's the guy that wrote the song Good Fight. Here's the guy that's going to go out on stage and sing it again. And people go, oh, like the good fight, like St. Paul in the Bible. I go, no, not like St. Paul in the Bible. Yes, that phrase. But, you know, the good fight existed before St. Paul, you know. And in truth, the way we think of it, we kind of think about it was, I think Benjamin Franklin was maybe the guy that actually defined it in the way that we think about it more than St. Paul did. But in my mind, I think of the good fight as something that when you are trying to find the better person inside yourself, that to me is the good fight. How do you define it? And in, you know, Chuck Nolan, I think, is the character in the Castaway movie that Tom Hanks plays.
Yeah. Script by William Broyles Jr.
Yeah, he was the screenwriter. And it's an incredible screenplay. It's amazing. You know, so yes, that was what, you know, that was where I got the inspiration for that. Now Mind the Gap, I think that was about, well, I mean, obviously there's signs in the London Underground, right? Where when the train pulls in, train stations, they're asking you when you step onto the train, you got to mind the gap. And they have these little signs to remind you, but I think I wrote about the gap in, cracked sidewalks where a flower starts to grow. And yeah, I think that's
Beautifully written. Beautifully written.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm borrowing from Leonard Cohen, the cracks, that's where the light gets in,
But don't we all borrow something from someone before us who inspired us?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's very little new under the sun. Wait, is that Shakespeare? Oh, I think it is.
Yeah. The good fight is ours to choose, energy channeled into the social contract, to do no harm, to weigh the golden rule, to reinvent the perimeter when the security of the castle wall is being compromised.
Yeah, baby.
Stanza there. Yeah. Hey, speaking of reinvention, does it feel like a reinvention for you right now these days? I mean, you've been a rock front man, and you still are. Columnist, a music teacher, now increasingly a literary voice. I mean, is this a reinvention or just another extension of the same creative thread?
I think reinvention is probably, an ongoing process of being a human being and being alive. I mean, I could sit here and be talking to you about the arthritis medication that I have to self-inject every 2 weeks, and the pills that I take in the morning and at night. One's for the prostate and one's for the cholesterol. And, I'm getting old. And so part of the thing is, okay, so, how do you cope with that? And you reinvent. And in some ways, it's not that you're reinventing in a way that I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger. It's like, no, I'm just learning how to kind of cope with, reduced, but with limitations involved. And I think that it's important to try to keep my mind. I guess the answer is when this tour thing got pitched and I sat down with my wife, I said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I wanna, and she said, well, let's do pros and cons. Let's start there. What do you think? And I go, let's do pros first because, I don't want to get into the cons. It'll be too long a list. I think the first thing is I'm going to have to get in shape. I'm going to have to literally go to the gym and start working out, maybe get a personal trainer. And she said, well, let's stop doing lists right now. That's the best reason to do it. Doesn't matter any other reason. That's the one you're going to do it, which was the one step. Instead of 1,000 steps, let's just do one. I go, okay. So for Christmas, she bought me 10 sessions with a personal trainer. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to do this. And then I went to the gym with this guy, and he came to the house and here in my studio, and I did some workouts. And then I went to his gym and I go, okay, I think I like this. I remembered what it was like to be a gym rat when I was in high school. And I go, okay, no, I get this. And so I'm in better shape than I've been in 20 years,
Wow.
Maybe longer, and my diet's better. I've lost 12 pounds. I'm getting a little bit of,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to need the Paul McCartney surgery.
Yeah, there you go. Well, but I think of it in baseball terms, it's like a fastball pitcher can still strike people out with a curveball. You just got to learn to mix it up.
Yeah, man.
Right? There you go. How's that for an analogy?
I'm going to make a note and write it down about that.
And the tour kicks off 3 days after the book comes out. So the book comes out April 7th, and then the tour April 10th in Florida. And you got tour dates.
But you can get the book is on pre-order at ECW Press site. So if people are watching this and they want the book, want to make sure that they get their copy, you can go and get it right now.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes. The Booked on Rock podcast is part of the Boneless Podcasting Network. If you're a fan of classic rock and classic film like I am, go to boneless.lovable.app to find over 20 great shows there. That's boneless.lovable.app, or just go to bookedonrock.com, the Boneless Podcasting Network. It is what you want it to be. Listen with confidence. And you got tour dates scheduled across Canada and U.S. this spring. So how do you balance the reflective solitude of poetry with the energy of performing in a rock and roll band?
You know what happens after the show? You go and you do a meet and greet, and then you're really tired. And then you go back to the bus, and then you're on the bus and you're all alone. you're in your little bunk. You can be writing in your journal. You can be. I used to do it back in the Triumph days. I had journals and notebooks, and I used to do it back then. Write songs and write lyrics, and yeah, it's mostly kind of a lonely kind of lifestyle, really. The traveling musician.
You hear that a lot.
The 90 minutes on stage or the 2 hours, it's like, okay, no, this is as social activity as it can get. But, beyond that, it's, you're on your own and or you're hanging with this small group of guys who are also very like-minded. I think this thing that we're getting with these new guys is great because, I was on the phone with Brent Fitz today, and Brent was saying, look, to us, the bus is not a party place. The bus is a place for reading and sleeping and having a cup of chamomile tea.
Solitude.
And plus these guys, they're all Canadians. A couple of them are living in Vegas now, and Phil X is living in LA, but these guys they're Canadians. And there is a thing about, I think when you scratch a Canadian, you get down to this thing where we're a relatively humble, modest kind of folk. We're self-effacing, and we kind of go, yeah, but this is the way you should be. And I think it's probably goes back to, this is the only way the village survives the winter. We're all going to have to cooperate. Nobody can be, egomaniac here. We have to, get along. So we all have to wear our mittens and our scarves.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's Todd Kearns and Brent Fitz from Slash's band, and Phil X, like you put on the website, on loan from the mighty Bon Jovi.
Yes.
And and then the three originals.
And it's not like these kids, they've been around too. Alice Cooper and all of them have resumes that are very long, and they've done a lot of things. And of course, Phil had replaced me in Triumph when I left it.
That's right.
Back in 1988, 89, he was the guy that they hired, and he did an album with them and stuff. And yeah, I can remember meeting Phil at some guitar workshop thing, and the guy that ran it was very concerned. He was having this guitar symposium or whatever it was, and said, "It's the new guy from Triumph. Are you going to be okay with that?" I go, "Well, of course I'm going to be okay." And when I first met him, I was shaking his hand, and I pulled him in close to me, and I said, "Phil, there's nobody else on the planet Earth that knows better what you're getting yourself into than me. And I just wish you all the luck in the whole lot."
Yes.
Well, I've never had a problem with Phil.
Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. Now this is the tour is the first with the classic lineup since 1988, but you've added these guys. Now this is really to bolster the sound, to make sure that the audience is going to get the complete sound, right? That's the reason for adding these three guys.
Yeah. Yes, but also so that it will evolve, like maybe it'll sound different. Maybe like when I'm doing the arrangements now, I go, you know what? I think maybe I want to stretch this little moment. Phil says, we're working on Spellbound. He goes, "Can we make the guitar solo twice as long?" And I went, "If you want to play that solo twice as long, buddy, go, it's all yours. Go for it." So it's not going to be like listening to the old records. That's not the idea. The idea is to make these songs. It's called Rock and Roll Machine Reloaded. When you reload, we can load it however we like this time. And I want to reload it so that it's 2026, not 1982, not 1979, I think that's way more important. I think that music lives in a place where it has the ability to float in the air and evolve and change. That's what makes music so great, When I write a poem, I try to read them out loud, and I try to think about how they sound and how they flow. And then I try to think of what's it going to feel like when it's in somebody else's head. They're looking at the page, and in their own head, they're reading it. How might they read it in a way that is, okay, so try to answer this question. Do I want them to read it exactly the way I have it? I go, well, you know, I am a control freak. Yes, I would kind of like them to read it exactly the way I mean it. But when a line reads and I go, wait a sec, this could mean more than one thing. This could mean 2 or 3 things. This is kind of open. I go, oh, I like that. I really like that. Like, I like it when it has an ability to interpret that. I think that's what will make it be valuable as time goes on, you know, to somebody else that I don't even know. You know, what if these poems could get translated into, I don't know, Yugoslavian? You know, what's that going to, because I'm reading a translation of the Marcus Aurelius stuff. He would have written it in Latin. And at one point, there's a line where whoever did the English translation has used the word atoms, you know, atoms, atoms. And I say to my wife, they wouldn't have had atoms. This was like written in 112 AD. Did they even know what atoms were? And she goes, well, no, but probably in Latin, he was using some sort of a word that meant small particulate, tiny, tiny particulate, the grains of things that the universe is made out of. That's what the Latin word meant. And so this is what the English guy chose. And I went, okay, I like that. I like that, you know, you can choose something that might color it in a different way. So, you know, making music now, I'm going to go, well, 2026, baby.
I love that. There's some artists, they will not tell you what the song is about. They would rather have you interpret it any way you wish. And then it's like looking at a painting. I always love standing in front of a painting in a museum. And I say, this is what I'm seeing in that picture. What are you seeing? And they may see something different.
Yes. Yeah. And painting has a little bit more of that sort of abstract, surreal. I mean, there were times where painting was, you couldn't make political kinds of statements. And so you had to use the art in order to try and have the politics be in there, you know. I mean, the whole thing of the Sistine Chapel ceiling with God and the man and the cloud that's in behind, it's a brain. That outline is a brain. And so in a way, the artist is saying, no, that's the human mind. This is in the human mind. Now, he's doing this for the Vatican. He's doing this for the powers that be of the Catholic Church. They're not looking at that and seeing the human brain in it, but he meant it. You know, that's so, yeah, you know, I think art has always had that value and that ability. Painting, I don't really understand dance too well on that level. I just haven't spent enough time. But I think, you know, poetry, prose, novels. I have a friend that is very heavily into like sort of political advocacy, you know, like lobby groups and that sort of thing. He likes to see the world change on political levels. And lately he's into this whole thing about hospitals and medicine and you know, the health system, the health and he's written a few books about it, and he's thinking about writing another one. And I said, I don't think you should write another nonfiction textbook. I go, you know, you're not getting enough readers. It's not what you want. You want more of a political activism, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, then I think it's got to be nonfiction. I think you're going to have to write a story, and you're going to have families in it, and people and friends and enemies. And there's got to be human interaction and dynamics. And the political points you want to make, the arguments you want to make, you put them in the book by all means. But make it, if you want to make a larger impact, I think you're going to need fiction to do it. And I think painting, poetry, you know, novels, like probably the greatest thing of the 20th century art-wise was film. It ended up becoming the one of the art form that had the greatest impact, the greatest ability to sort of, you know,
the Trojan horse.
Yeah. And, you know, it's probably no mistake that even the music business became the music video business. You know, the launch of MTV changed it so that no, there's going to be movies too, like I didn't like it, but that's the writing was on the wall there.
Thanks so much for checking out the Booked on Rock podcast. If you've just found the podcast, welcome. If you've been listening, thank you so much for your support. And make sure you tell a friend, a family member, share on social media, and let people know about Booked on Rock. And if you do like the podcast, make sure you subscribe, give a 5-star review wherever you listen to the Booked on Rock podcast. We're on Amazon, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, and on YouTube Music. You can check out the full episodes on video, along with video highlights from episodes on the Booked on Rock YouTube channel. Find it at Booked on Rock. Thanks again for listening. Now back to the show. We'll just finish with a thought on the tour. It starts in Florida. Canadian dates, U.S. dates, as I mentioned, and then due to high demand, they added a second night in Boston, and then the Chicago gig was moved to a larger venue. I mean, what does that say about Triumph's legacy? How does that make you feel?
Well, it feels pretty good right now, but we haven't played a show yet, so I don't want to get prematurely cocky about anything. Let's wait until we get out there and start playing.
Fans still love you guys, man. They're
yes. And it is what you've described is a lovely thing, and I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling kind of blessed that I'm in this position. I'm hoping I'm not going to blow it. I'm hoping what I'm going to do is, justify everybody's, hunger for it to happen well, and I think it will. And I really like these younger guys that, they're not so young, but they're younger than I am, and I think that's going to put a wrinkle on it, not even a wrinkle, but like a whole other layer that is going to make it more meaningful and more fun for me, better for an audience. My wife and I at dinner, we were talking about that, how I just enjoy rehearsing with these guys now and talking with them, and I'm going, this is awesome, this is a lot of fun, and it takes me right back to when I was in bands as a teenager and in my 20s, before the business started getting in the way and making it harder. This time, it seems like the business has actually made it so that, hey, it's enabling. It's making this so that it can be more fun and it can be great. And, that's a lovely thing. I think we see that now with bands that are doing these reunion kinds of tours, that you can do it with creature comforts and, God bless the Rolling Stones and you two for showing us the way.
Sure, absolutely. And you talk about a catalog of music, Lay It on the Line, Magic Power, Hold On, Fight the Good Fight, Never Surrender, Somebody's Out There. I mean, these songs stand the test of time. A friend of mine said she remembers seeing you in 1986 at the Agora Ballroom in Hartford, Connecticut in 1986. You've played many shows. I don't know if you even remember playing there. West Hartford, Connecticut. The Agoras were all over. There were
United
Agoras.
States.
Yeah,
they weren't in Canada, but they were all over this. Yeah, and the Aragon in Chicago was a ballroom we played, and and I liked them. Those old sort of
like old theaters, right?
Vaudeville things that sort of then converted into swing era kinds of big bandy. I loved those venues. We kind of outgrew them, but the places we're playing on this tour, they're more like sheds and amphitheaters, and they're not huge. They're not the giant hockey rinks. But I kind of like that. I think it makes it so that we can get a big production and have it up, and it'll do it on a large scale. But, you're not working to people that are a football stadium away.
And April Wine is on the road with you, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Find the Booked on Rock website at bookedonrock.com. There you can find all the back episodes of the show, the latest episode in video and audio, links to all of the platforms where you can listen to the podcast, plus all the social media platforms. We're on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Also, check out the Booked on Rock blog, find your local independent bookstore, find out all the latest hot rock book releases, and before you go, check out the Booked on Rock online store. Pick up some Booked on Rock merch. It's all at bookedonrock.com. people can go, where are the best places people can go to get the tickets for the show? You mentioned the book. They can go to ECW's website.
Yeah, ECW Press for the book, for leaning into it. And the Triumph tickets are like triumph.com. If you just go there, or maybe it's called triumphmusic.com. We better check that. I think it's triumphmusic.com. And if you just go to I think the opening page is going to say, yeah, you want tickets for a show?
Right. Triumphmusic.com. Yeah. Nice, beautiful logo there.
There you go. Look at that. The Golden Thunderbird is making it. It's a phoenix rising from the ashes.
I love it. There you go. Oh.
Hey, when I was a kid, there was a band called Wishbone Ash.
Oh, yeah. I know Wishbone Ash. Yeah.
And you know what that's about? It's about a phoenix.
Oh, I didn't know that.
From the ash, isn't it? So if the bird burned, you would have Wishbone Ash. Get it?
Yeah. Wow. I always like that there's a Rush and a Mahogany Rush. I like that.
Yes. And both Canadian.
That's right.
We once played in England. Frank Marino was on the bill at the Heavy Metal Holocaust in Stoke-on-Trent. And he was great. Like, his guitar sounded immense, like just huge. And he had a Hendrix thing that he was very, very good at. And he just explained. He had an array of pedals on the floor. He was making all these sounds. And I never got to meet Frank, which is too bad, because I really respected what he did. And he was great. Yeah.
Well,
Mahogany Rush. Yeah.
Mahogany Rush. Rick, thanks. We were supposed to keep it to like 20, 30 minutes, but you gave me much more. I told you I was
guilty. You just got the Rik Emmett guilt thing, so you're good.
That's right. It was 50. You were 50 minutes late, and I thought the interview was an hour and a half before that. So I was trying to get a hold of you like an idiot on Facebook, but we made it happen. And I have a feeling we're going to be talking again, because you got more books coming, and
yes,
you're always welcome back here.
Well, and then after the tour puts me in the hospital, and then you're probably going to want to do an interview when I'm in my iron lung.
Yes. That'll get some clicks. There you go.
Well, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
that's click. Is that clickbait? I'll show the picture of you in the hospital bed. What's going on? Oh my God.
Yeah. So I don't have a title for my next one. I could give you like a pre-look, but I don't have a title yet. My working title is Twistings and Turnings, but I don't like that. It's too corny.
Yeah.
So it'll be something else. But...
All right. Well, I'm sure I'll hear from our friend Emily at ECW. She'll send the email out, and I'll jump right on it.
Good. All right, man.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, Eric. Nice talking to you.
That's it. It's in the books.